Hi everybody, welcome to my beginner's guide to Hogwarts Legacy. And the most important thing I think in this game is take your time. This game is absolutely massive and it has so much detail and it has so much love, frankly, that has been put into it and its development that you don't want to be rushing through. You know, if you're a fan of Harry Potter and you've read the books or you've seen the films, you'll be walking around and you'll be amazed with the sort of things that you see and you experience. But for non-lovers of the books or games, or books or films, or if you just haven't seen them, there is so much stuff to really take in, and it would be a shame to rush through it. And in fact, one of the things you probably want to do, and I highly recommend this, is don't try and mainline the story missions, because to be quite frank, Hogwarts Legacy at times can be incredibly difficult, especially the combat. And if you're not prepared for these encounters, and you're not aware of the fact that you need to use spells, you need to use potions, you need to use aggressive combat plants as well, that makes me laugh, then you'll be underpowered. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being overpowered in this game. So when you're going through it, and you're going, for example, through your quests, you'll have your this is older quests, for example, then you'll have your main quests, and then you'll have assignments given to you by the professors. Work your way through those. They'll give you more spells, and work your way through the relationships, and work your way through the side missions, and then come back and work your way through the main story missions, and you'll find them much easier when you tackle them. Now this tip I think is really important, and that is using manual saves before you attempt main story quests, side missions, or anything that might look like a dungeon or a combat encounter. So as you're playing the game, you'll see the little icon that keeps flashing at the bottom of the screen saying it saves. And what can happen is if you get into a large dungeon, you get kind of halfway through, realise you're underpowered or you haven't brought enough consumables with you. It's really difficult to get out again. Often you can't. You've got to go back to a save that was a long time ago. So before you start these encounters, make sure you go into the settings, you go into save game, and you do a manual save, and keep doing this. I recommend you do it sort of once per play session anyway, but play session. But again, also do it at least once before you go into these large encounters, because there's been one or two that I've gone into and I've been underpowered. One of them I managed to finish, but it was really difficult, and another one I had to roll back because I just couldn't beat the final boss, really because I didn't quite understand what I was meant to be doing, but also because I didn't bother taking enough potions in with me to complete the encounter. So make sure you use a manual save before you go into these main story missions, quests, or anything that looks like it might be a dungeon or a major combat encounter. It's really important that you check your inventory and your progress regularly, because you'll be amazed at how many times you'll miss the fact that you've picked up better gear or you'll have earned rewards. So make sure you go into your book and have a look, for example, at your gear, and just click on the little bits and see if you've picked up something that has a higher number, basically to level up things to start off with anyway in Hogwarts Legacy. If you pick it up and the numbers go up, equip it. And when you're running around in some of these larger dungeons as well, it's very easy to miss something. Now you only have a certain amount of space, so when you run out of space, make sure you visit one of the traders and sell off the stuff that's lower value. However, don't sell off anything that has a question mark that you don't know what it is, because you will get to find out what that is a little bit later in the game. Also, make sure you go through and have a look at your quests and your challenges to see if you've earned anything that you can then unlock. Most of these are cosmetic, but you'll also find good gear that definitely could come in handy. So make sure that you regularly check your inventory and your gear to make sure you haven't earned something that can make the game a lot easier. Now, it's really important as well to keep an eye on your quests and your side missions. So when you open up your field guide, go in and have a look at your quests, and the ones that are really important are actually the assignments that the professors give you. Now, I haven't got any at the moment, but often these will stack up because you'll get so caught up in doing side missions and helping people around Hogwarts and Hogsmeade and the surrounding countryside that you'll miss them. And what happened in my case, for example, was I got to level 10 in the game, and I hadn't got my broom yet, and I was just expecting some mission to come up where I would get a broom, when in fact what it was, there was a task, an assignment from one of the professors that I had to do. I had to go back and do the broom lesson, and I could have got that probably at around level 4. As soon as I'd done that, I could then go to the shop in Hogsmeade, buy myself a broom, and I could fly around the map. So make sure you come back here. And my tip really would be is that if you see professor tasks or assignments underneath your main story quest that you've got to do, consider doing those first before you go back to the main story, because those assignments will give you more spells which could help you through the story quest a lot easier. So the map for Hogwarts Legacy is absolutely massive. We have all the northern area, and then we have the southern area. We've got Hogsmeade Village, and then we've got Hogwarts itself, which is absolutely huge. And sometimes it can be really easy just getting caught in going from side quest to side quest, mission to mission, assignment to assignment, without really just exploring and looking around. But it is super important to do that, just to wander around and look around the castle and the different areas, because not all of the quests will show up on your map, and just by wandering around you'll bump into different characters who will ask you to help them and to do things. You don't have to do them right now, you can do them in a later stage, but it's a very important
Gareth.
part of leveling up and kind of learning all the different things that the game has to offer, including things like some of the more advanced spells as well. And it also really immerses you in the magic of this world, the magic of Hogwarts Castle, the sheer amount of love that has gone into creating this absolutely amazing game. So don't just follow the markers, don't just follow your map. Wander around, explore the castle, explore the areas, and discover various other quests and side missions that you can do to enjoy and level up your character. Okay, I didn't really want to give too much away with this tip, but basically when you're in certain puzzle locations or dungeons, you need to move items around using your magic spells to be able to either kind of reach different ledges, reach high ledges, pull things onto other things to make triggers happen and this sort of stuff. I don't want to say any more because I don't want to give anything else away, but basically what you need to do is spells like Accio that pull things forward, and Depulso, which push things away, and especially Levioso, which pulls things up. You're going to use these a lot, and what you do is when you use them, especially things like Accio, keep your finger on the trigger and you can pull, for example, a box around that you may want to climb onto to reach somewhere else, or you could climb onto the box and then use something like Accio again to pull the box and you forward to somewhere else. So if you come to a puzzle and it looks like something else needs to go on something else, you're probably going to use one of these skills to pull things towards whatever you want to do. Now, I don't mean to be a little bit obtuse, but again, I don't want to give too much away. So Harry Potter's Hogwarts Legacy is an absolutely massive game. And because there's so much to do, you can often kind of get caught into just following waypoints from quest to quest, side mission to side mission. But one of the really important things to do is to get off the beaten trail and just kind of explore, because this will give you an opportunity to run into nasties, to run into baddies and get used to fighting and just enjoying the combat, but also learning how to do it. Also, it will give you the opportunity to practice doing things like changing between your spell sets when you have them, and also you'll get the opportunity to find and collect an awful lot. Ooh, hello. Find and collect an awful lot of the consumable items, you know, like the plants and toadstools and mushrooms and things that you need to use. So I highly recommend get off that beaten path and just practice using all your different spells. Now the other thing that will happen as well is that you will get combat challenges, I think, dueling challenges, I think, and these are often subtle hints on how to defeat enemies. So for example, I think it's called a dumbog or something. The big toads that hang around in the water, the quickest way to defeat them is to Levioso them up in the air, and then in fact, let's see if I've got is to Levioso them up in the air with something like that, and then when they're hanging by their tongue, you have to wait for them to put their tongue out, then you hit them with the slash spell, and that kills them straight away. And so many of the enemies, especially the animals, especially the beasts, do have like a weak point like that. So if you know exactly which spells to use, you can kill them incredibly quickly. So get off the beaten path, fight those enemies. That will help you to find other stuff as well, because certain enemies actually, they drop certain things like spider fangs and parts of their bodies which you can use for potions later on, and you'll just get better at combat in general in a situation where things aren't critical, like when you're in a dungeon on a main quest. Hi everybody, welcome to the Clock Tower in Hogwarts Legacy, and I've talked to Lucan Brattlebury, I think he's called, and he's let me use his combat dummy, which is really useful because I wanted to talk about I guess you could call it like the tripod of combat in Hogwarts Legacy, because it's very easy just to think about the spells, and it's all about using your wand, but that's only a third of what actually you should be doing, because in Hogwarts Legacy you have spells that you cast with your wands, you have potions, and you have combat plants. So if I bring up my wheel here, so I'm pressing and hold the left shoulder button, you can see these things. Now, probably the most underrated things are the plants, which you can buy in the shops, or you can grow them later on when you unlock the ability to do so. But here we have Venomous Tentacular, so if I lob one of these down, it will spit acid at my enemies. The Chinese Chomping Cabbage, which if you lob these down, they chase down enemies and attack them. And then we have the good old Mandrake, which damages enemies when you get them out. It screams. And they're very, very useful. And once again, I'm being a little bit opaque with this because I don't want to give away bits of the story, but when you unlock the ability to grow these by basically you buy seeds and you have growing stations, you can have as many as you like, well up to 12 of each one, and they're very, very useful, especially when you're out and about in the countryside just attacking enemies and having a bit of fun that way. So you know, you can use these. And then we have the potions. Now the potions, again, you can buy them in the shops, or at some point in the game, wink wink, you'll unlock the ability to make them yourself, and we have things like the Edorus, which when you equip this, when you drink this, you get covered in this scaly skin and you become more difficult to take damage. Then you get the Maxima, where when you drink this, your spells are more powerful, and then you get Focus, which means that your spells cooldown will go a lot faster. Thunderbrew, which kind of creates this area of effect damage where all this lightning and thunder comes down and damages enemies. And then you've got Invisibility Potion, which you can quickly pop, and then enemies are like, oh, where's he gone? They kind of lose their lock on. So that's really, really important. Now obviously as you're going through the game, you're going to learn, and you're going to unlock lots of different spells, and you're going to learn, and you're going to unlock the ability to have different groups of spells in your spell sets. But just remember that before you're going into a combat situation, especially the larger combat situations with on tasks and in the dungeons, make sure you have definitely stocked up on all of your potions. I mean, the one you can't see here is actually the healing potion, which is down on the D-pad, isn't it, on console. But you want to have lots of these plants, and you want to have as many of these as you can. You won't have unlocked the ability to get them straight away, but once you do, these are just as important, if not more important, than your spells that you cast with your wand. Now also, there's also another option that you should definitely look at, which is stealth. So when I go into stealth mode, I mean, it won't really work here, but when you're out and about, especially when you're taking out enemy encampments, a perfectly good tactic is just go into stealth mode, creep behind enemies, and as long as they're not too powerful, you get the option to take them down, and then you can creep out again, you can creep back in again, you come in from different angles. If they see you and start taking you on, you can run away, go back into stealth, come back in again, and it's a whole different way to play the game. And obviously when you go into things like your talents, you can have a whole stealth build should you want, to make it very, very easy for your character to do this. So there we go. So always remember, combat in Hogwarts Legacy isn't just about the spells, it's about potions and the aggressive plants as well, and also having the option of going stealthy and taking out enemies that way. Now, I know I've sort of talked about this before, but I can't really stress enough how important it is to keep things like your potions and your combat plants really topped up before you go into even some of the side missions and main missions and dungeons and things like that, where you're going to be encountering heavy combat, because they really do make a big difference. Now, in the early game, you probably won't have unlocked most of these, but you will be able to buy some of them. And as the game progresses, what you'll then be able to do is actually make these potions for yourself. I mean, until then, you've got to come to Hogsmeade, and then you've got to visit the various traders, the various shops, or go to the various traders that are around the different parts of the map. And then you can just press your top right shoulder button, and you can make sure that you've got enough of these potions, defensive potions, offensive potions, offensive plants, so that when you go into that combat situation, you're not just relying on your spells, you've also got the other two parts of the Hogwarts Legacy combat tripod, if you like, which are the combat plants and the potions as well. So make sure you keep them topped up. Okay, so hopefully I haven't given away too many of Hogwarts secrets, the things that you'll love to discover as you play the game. But I guess my final tip would be, you can play this game again, can't you? Although it is a single player role-playing experience, there's so much in it that I don't think you'll discover everything. In fact, I know you won't discover everything in your first playthrough. And the fact that we have the 4 different houses that we can use to play through is a thing. Just remember that. Remember, you can play through it again. You will be able to select a different house, which will give you a different common room and some different missions to play during the game. And then also, you've got the fact that you can't have all of the talents equipped either. So that, if you want to have a very stealthy build, you could go for a playthrough where you use stealth basically to take people out and enemies, or you could have a full frontal assault build. I mean, just look at how beautiful this world is. The more I play Hogwarts Legacy, the more I enjoy it. So hopefully this beginner's guide has helped. These top 10 hints and tips have helped. There's so much in this game. They do really help you to learn things. But again, it is difficult, and if you do find you're stuck in situations where, for example, the combat is too difficult, all you need to do is carry on leveling up, get some different spells, get some different potions, get some different combat plants, and you'll probably find yourself breezing through it at a later stage. So anyway, if you found this video useful, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, and I will of course see you again soon.